Welcome back to National Report. The House passes the Equality Act, but many in the evangelical community fear it threatens religious freedom. Now it faces an uncertain future in the Senate. But joining us to discuss what is at stake is Pastor Brian Gibson of his church here, and our panelists Joe and Victoria are here as well. Pastor Brian, thank you for joining us again here on National Report. I'll just ask you the question, why do you believe that religious freedoms are at risk if this bill does become law?
Well, if there's anything the Equality Act isn't, it is not equal. The question I have is, when did the rights of the transgender community begin to supersede the rights of women in athletics? Will they supersede the rights of the religious community and our First Amendment rights? I see these things as an armbar where they're coming after faith communities, people that believe a Judeo-Christian worldview. They have that. It's what America was founded on. And the cancel culture of the left wants to systematically break it down bit by bit, piece by piece. The athletic portion is just one piece of the puzzle. You ought to look to the fight with Fallon Fox in the UFC whenever that transgender male cracked the skull of their opponent. That's what they want to do. They want to crack religious liberty in America. They want to take guys like me, who I'm committed to the Bible narrative. I believe that marriage is between a male and a female. And if I won't want to perform a same-sex union or something they want me to perform long-term, they'll take it as an armbar to pull my 501c3 status. They'll use the banking industry against conservative churches, and not just churches, synagogues, the Muslim community, many different religions that this is not their theology, to pull their funding. And it'll be an all-out attack like we've seen in other places in the world. That's where this is all going. And so not just pastors, not just rabbis, not just clerics should be concerned, but every liberty-loving person of faith that wants choice in America should be concerned and speak out now while there's still a chance.
All right. And you gave a real-life example. Of course, it comes down to the same-sex marriage that you say you would not be in favor of performing at your congregation. Victoria, is there any sort of legal aspect that pastor could fall on if this law were to go forward? Victoria Tunsing, any sort of defense?
Well, of course, it's the First Amendment, the freedom of religion, but this should be called the National Conformity Bill, because it's making everybody have to do a certain way of thinking. If there are a whole bunch of bakeries open that will ice a cake for a gay couple, why do we have to go target a couple who just says it's not consistent with my religious beliefs? If there are doctors who will give abortions, we should not make every single doctor say, if you're going to practice medicine here, you have to be able to give abortions. We have lost our individual liberty by such conformity.
Yeah, Pastor Brian, I'll go back to you and just ask you, what message would you like to send to the Biden administration, who's obviously pushing to get this Equality Act through the Congress?
Yeah, the message that I would send to the Biden administration is what he's doing now is alienating a large portion of America from himself and from his policies. And also he's putting us in a position. He asked for unity. He wept over unity whenever he comes into office, and he's one of the most disunifying characters we've ever seen in American politics. So my message to him would be, leave the church of the Lord Jesus Christ alone. And listen, as a Christian, I love everybody. I'm for everybody, but love does not mean agreement. Sometimes the strongest form of love is disagreement. So we can disagree in love. We can have different thoughts, different theologies, different ideas. That makes us America. And to do something like this is taking away freedom, it's taking away liberty, and it's killing the American way. So Biden needs to find a different path.
Well, there might be some disagreement in the Senate because, Joe, I believe it would need 10 Republicans to join with Democrat efforts to get this legislation through. Do you envision that happening, Joe? And if not, could there be other ways to get sort of parts of this bill passed through?
Well, I don't think the bill can pass the Senate for the very reasons that the Reverend has given. This is a bill about forced conformity. This is not a bill about freedom and equality. The words that the left always uses are always words that try to make something sound wonderful, be beautiful. It's always about the children, et cetera, et cetera. But this is nothing more than forced religious violence against the beliefs of people who care deeply about the Bible, about the Quran, about the Torah. These are deeply held beliefs. And the Democrats seem to think that if they think it's good for the country, it should be good for everybody, whether they like it or not. The problem for the Democrats is the First Amendment. And the First Amendment will defeat this bill, even if it is enacted into law. The Supreme Court has already said that people who make cakes don't have to perform ceremony, don't have to do things that violate their religious beliefs. This is an example of the Democrats simply ignoring the rulings of the Supreme Court, thinking that they can force the court to go their way by continuing to attack the court.
Very interesting. Okay, our panelists, Joe and Victoria, please stick around. Pastor Brian Gibson, thank you for joining us on the program today. We appreciate it.